Yo, what up, brothers? What's up? It's the director. Now, I know some of you are thinking it. No, I have not taken this jersey off since I got it. Don't worry, it's been cleaned lightly with wet naps and Febreze. Just kidding, I only wear it when I record. All right, Chargers fans, we've got an awesome video for you guys today. The season is itching ever closer every single day, and the biggest thing we should all be excited about is Hard Knocks making its debut on August 11th, which is really soon. And I figured one of the biggest things I'm excited about in watching Hard Knocks are going to be the camp battles. Who is going to emerge? Who is going to earn those starting jobs for the 2020 season? That's what we'll be covering in today's video. My top 5 Chargers camp battles for starting jobs in 2020. Before we get started, guys, hit us up with a like and sub if you do enjoy this Chargers content. The small amount of time you guys take to hit the like, sub, and bell notification helps me out a lot. Let's get into this video. All right, guys, let's start at the bottom, make our way towards the top. Let's start with defensive tackle 2 for the Chargers. I'm going to assume that the offseason acquisition of Linval Joseph this year, he's likely going to be our defensive tackle 1, but who's going to be lining up next to him, right in between him and Joey Bosa? The two main candidates are Jerry Tillery versus Justin Jones. I think a lot of us felt Jerry Tillery's rookie season was somewhat of a disappointment. Drafted in the first round last season, I think a lot of us hoped he'd be that rushing threat down the middle, but he didn't see a lot of playing time, and when he did, it could be underwhelming. Although he showed flashes, most notably during his game versus Tennessee, he did spend a lot of the season maybe underperforming to what his expectations were. But in his defense, he was rehabbing a torn labrum that he suffered in Notre Dame earlier before the season. Now, on the other side, Justin Jones, I would say he performed pretty well when called upon. Sure, he wasn't a major game changer at defensive tackle, but he was reliable and steady in most instances. In my opinion, I think this one's going to be close, but I think I'm going to give it to Jerry Tillery. If he can start the year healthy, I think he could show us why we drafted him in the first round, and definitely could be one of the biggest breakouts for the Chargers in 2020. At number 4, we've got left tackle. Now, there's a couple of guys that could be competing for this job. Trey Pipkins, who in my opinion is most likely, Storm Norton, and Sam Tevi. Now, this one's pretty important, even if it is a little self-evident. Trey Pipkins, he showed flashes all season long last year with the Chargers and really improved over his time on the field. So much so that I think the Chargers may have had their sights on him as a starter as early as when we got rid of Russell Okung. But putting all our faith in Trey Pipkins right off the bat does worry me a little bit, because left tackle is a huge responsibility. Most people would say the biggest responsibility on the offensive line. It's a big deal. Now, Sam Tevi, whose name I mentioned, I'm not very confident in him winning the job. He's somebody that we've seen struggle on the right side of the line for very many years. Moving him to the left side may even introduce more problems for him, and we would likely see the same struggle. So I'm going to say Sam Tevi's likely out. But Storm Norton, who we picked up from the XFL this last offseason, I'm going to say he was likely signed for depth. But you never know. Maybe there's a gem hidden somewhere in there. I think we may have already found it, though, in Trey Pipkins. If he can really be what the Chargers are hoping he is, we may have a solid answer at left tackle. Maybe not elite, but somebody who can definitely get the job done. I'm going to say Trey Pipkins definitely wins this battle. Next up is right outside linebacker, featuring Kenneth Murray versus Nick Vigil. Now, this one could go a couple of different ways. Kenneth Murray could challenge Vigil at right outside linebacker, or maybe even Denzel Perryman at middle linebacker, seeing as that's the position he played in college. But I've seen a lot of people suggest that he's going to play right outside linebacker for us, so we'll pit him up against Vigil in this video. Now, Vigil is an underrated signing this year. This man had several good seasons back in Cincinnati. He posted a career year last year with 111 combined tackles, 60 solo, 1 sack, 1 fumble, and 1 interception. That is pretty darn good. And in comparison, Thomas Davis, for us last year, tacked 112 combined tackles and a sack. And many would say he did very well for us last year, but Nick Vigil, I would say, had a better season. Now, given all the huge names that we signed this year, I can see how Nick Vigil kind of slipped through the cracks of a lot of people's attention when it comes to the big acquisitions of 2020. So yeah, he would be a good option, but on the other side, we've got our new star rookie linebacker in Kenneth Murray, somebody that a lot of us are super excited to see out on the field. And I think a lot of us feel that he was drafted to start for us. Murray is a freak of nature, one of the best run-stopping, sideline-to-sideline talents in the entire draft. He has Pro Bowl written all over him. So to keep things simple, yes, I'm very excited about Kenneth Murray. I think he's going to be an absolute stud. I think Murray will win out in this situation. But Vigil will likely see a lot of looks this year as well. Now, if this were Madden, I would bump Perryman out to right outside linebacker, put Kenneth Murray at the middle linebacker, and then probably put Tranquil at left outside linebacker. But this isn't Madden. We'll likely see a lot of different looks this year. We'll have a chance to see all these guys get snaps at some point, pending on the situation. At number 2, we've got wide receiver 3, featuring Joe Reed versus KJ Hill. Now, I think it's pretty clear that one of these guys is going to take this job. The recent favorite for this job, Andre Patton, was just released, and I have to assume our rookies will step up into this role. Now, for myself and a lot of Chargers fans, I think KJ Hill is the favorite to take slot receiver responsibilities. The man's an incredible route runner, has very reliable hands, everything that you would want in a reliable slot wide receiver. Joe Reed, on the other hand, a utility player and special team beast, could be capable of running routes on the outside and adding some speed to our roster where we desperately need it. Now, this is going to be a very, very fun battle to see on Hard Knocks this offseason. I feel like finally getting to see these guys sync with our offense of the Chargers is going to be very exciting. And honestly, I think we got a couple of really good guys there as far as who's going to take responsibilities of wide receiver 3. But I also think this could be very situational. I think these guys may actually be sharing responsibilities at wide receiver 3. It all depends on where Keenan Allen lines up. If Keenan's on the outside, I can definitely see KJ Hill taking responsibilities at slot wide receiver, which I think is probably going to be the case most of the time. But I can also see a lot of situations where Keenan Allen does line up in the slot, in which case I would definitely see Joe Reed maybe line up opposite Mike Williams on the outside. So yeah, I could see these guys sharing responsibilities, but I think for the most part, KJ Hill's going to see more snaps at slot wide receiver. Very excited to see what happens. At number 1, the number 1 camp battle for 2020 on the Chargers is going to be at quarterback. Tyrod Taylor versus Justin Herbert. I think this is going to be the highlight of Hard Knocks this season, for sure. And I think this is one most of us may have assumed the outcome to, because there have been several instances where Coach Lynn has flat out said Tyrod is going to be starting this season. And there's good reason for that. Tyrod's been there. He's been with the Chargers a full season. He understands Coach Lynn. He understands kind of the scheme that we're trying to introduce. And Coach Lynn and Tyrod Taylor do have history together back in Buffalo, where a lot of people might say that's where Tyrod Taylor saw his best years. I think Tyrod was actually a pretty good quarterback out in Buffalo for a couple of seasons. However, Lynn has also recently stated that although Tyrod is the front runner, Justin Herbert will have a chance to start as well. And this is probably the first time I've heard him state that Herbert could start this season at all. Justin Herbert, drafted number 6 overall to the Chargers, is a pretty big deal, guys. If we decide to start him this year, we need to have a lot of confidence that he can go out there and execute and address some of the problems that a lot of people had with him pre-draft. But I also think we have this young weapon out there with measurables that are quite impressive, even in contrast to a lot of other starters in the NFL right now. His speed, athleticism, his throw power, his ability to throw open. I think there's enough there for the Chargers to mold him into somewhat of a huge threat in 2020, even if he does start early. Now, the chances of this, I'm not quite sure. This is what's going to make Hard Knocks so much fun to watch this year. Herbert could definitely surprise us all, but in my honest opinion, I think Tyrod is a much safer option. He'll likely win this battle. He's a veteran who knows what he's doing. He's going to give Justin Herbert some time to settle in and really learn what it means to be a starting caliber NFL quarterback. How long Tyrod keeps the starting job, though, is a completely different story. We've seen this in the past with Tyrod Taylor in Cleveland, where Baker Mayfield was drafted by the Browns. Tyrod was the starting quarterback. We may be seeing something very similar. Now, I don't think Tyrod's going to get injured and forcing Justin Herbert into the starting role, but I think Justin Herbert could probably earn the job a couple of weeks into the season, perhaps late season. But honestly, guys, if we're looking at a scenario where Justin Herbert takes an entire year to learn, I think I'd be okay with that as well. So in the comment section, Chargers fans, let me know what your thoughts are on the top 5 Chargers camp battles for starting jobs in 2020. Out of the guys I listed, let me know who you think picks up the starting job, as well as any other camp battles that I may have not included in this video. Perhaps pass, maybe even position battles like Desmond King versus Chris Harris Jr. for slot cornerback responsibilities. Well guys, thank you so much for joining me. Like and sub if you did enjoy this content. We'll see you next time. As always, bolt up and stay frosty.